Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears, including their fans, had a lot to talk about this offseason, saying that he enjoyed beating the Packers twice a year every year. Well, guess what, Ben Johnson? You're 0-1 against us in 2025. This is your Packers 28, Bears 21 complete breakdown with a redemption story that stole Christmas from the Chicago Bears.
I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Hey. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm
Welcome in to another episode of Sounds Gouda. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and taking a listen to me riding solo on this episode. Just know that we have new content every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We always love talking ball with you each and every week. We are on the socials as well. I am at Sounds Gouda with 3 A's, and Jordan is at Olsen Jord. What a game it was for the Green Bay Packers beating the rivalry that is the Chicago Bears. And let me tell you, the Chicago Bears came to play football today. They definitely, they made the necessary adjustments that they needed to make in that second half. And they were really starting to tee off on us there in that second half with that running game and made it very, very competitive. Had my heartbeat racing the whole time, basically. And I can't remember the last time I felt a game feel like that for the Packers and Bears. I think, some could argue 2010, right? 2010, 2011, or even going back to the year that Mitch Trubisky was pretty good, right? It has been very few and far in between. It was really, really good to get this victory and to honestly shut the Bears up and all their fans. So, and Bears fans, let me tell you something. If you are gonna dish it, you gotta be able to give it. You gotta be able to take it back too. You gotta take this one. You gotta eat crow because you all were wrong. So, but let's head in and let's talk about the offense and what they did in this game. I don't think the narrative is. It's not about perfection in this game. I think it's more about resilience, honestly, and answering back every single time. 8 offensive drives, interception, ugly start, which proved to be a pretty good drive, but punt, then touchdown, immediate response, touchdown after that in the fourth, building the lead, then punt, touchdown, answering the Bears score, punt, and then touchdown, game winner. 4 touchdowns on 8 drives is a 50% TD rate. That is definitely really good production. Every time it seemed like the Bears scored, the Packers definitely had an answer back. Bears score, Packers score. Bears make it close, Packers pull away. I believe that is really, really good offense, championship level type of offense. And, to talk about Jordan Love, the bounce back king. He could have really had that interception really kind of drive his, rest of his play for the rest of the game, but he didn't. He didn't let that ugly start really affect him. I was alluding to that, but the first drive was going really well. Then he took that unnecessary sack on that third down. Occasionally, he seems like he likes to take those, and that's obviously you might as well put that down as a penalty. That's a drive killer. And then that very next play, throws that interception. Wrapped beautifully. I'm not sure what he was looking at. I believe in his press conference he did say that it was a bad read for him, but he basically gift wrapped that for CJ Gardner Johnson. But the response after that pick though, absolute perfection. Really was. I mean, 17 to 25, 234 yards, 3 touchdowns for 120.7 rating against a defense too that is, leads the league in takeaways. Does a really, really good job. Also against a team too that's 6-0 with 2+ turnovers and freezing cold December weather that was at Lambeau. The Bears 4 losses this year. Quarterbacks threw 1 interception or less in each. Love gave them 1 early for sure, but then he did shut the door. No sacks the rest of the game and was what I felt, and I'm sure you all felt it too, complete, command of this offense. I don't think that this is new for Love though. You all have seen this. 3 of his 4 interceptions this year are they weren't good. Kind of just questionable. Like, where did that come from? Almost indefensible kind of level type of bad. Yeah, what separates a really good quarterback from a really great quarterback is, great quarterbacks don't let their mistakes snowball on them. So Love pick, then went out and torched Chicago on a lot of on some really really well played, well timed, well executed touchdowns. And it really made a big difference. And without his bounce back, we wouldn't have won this game. Let's talk about Christian Watson, because the nightmare for opposing defenses continues. Anybody who thinks that Christian Watson is not an elite level type of wide receiver is not watching football. He's not watching the film, because he is just absolutely torching people since he has come back, and he's been everything to this offense. Really has taken it to the next level. 4 catches, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just an elite man-to-man destroyer. Single coverage on him, good luck. That first touchdown, it was an audible. The Bears did show an all-out blitz. I really did love to see that. Love sees it. Love sees it and then does a really good job and checks to the slant. Watson runs the route, creates the separation. Really reminded me of when Aaron Rodgers got hurt in that Eagles game. Not that they were sending an all-out pressure, but man, I love to see those crossers. Far back in the Favre days and Rodgers days, seeing a lot of those slants. Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson. Love to see that. But then Watson is just too fast, creates separation, and goes for the touchdown. The quarterback, Jordan Love, and the wide receiver, Christian Watson, definitely have a lot of chemistry right now. And, I think that that's just something that is really important in this offense. And we'll see how they bring back Matthew Golden in this game. He was active, but he's at the bottom of the totem pole, especially with Jaden Reed coming back. But speed kills. Third down, Bears in that single high, Gardner Johnson, man coverage on Watson. I mean, that is a mismatch. Everybody knows that that's a mismatch. And they took a risk on him too. Signing that 1 year, $11 million extension. Some would say that looked like a little bit of a gamble. Now, I obviously at this moment, and if he continues this, which I think he will, it's just been an absolute steal. And who knows? Maybe he gets another extension this offseason. Let's move on to Bo Melton. Bo Melton came to Green Bay as a wide receiver, gets moved to cornerback, becomes one of the best special teams players. Injuries happen, though, gets moved back to receiver, makes limited snaps count. But that touchdown that he made right before the half, sees the deep safety drop low, perfect protection from the offensive line. I think that there was even a stunt. I could be wrong here, but I believe Sean Ryan and Aaron Banks ended up executing that perfectly to give Love enough time, but fires that across the middle. Melton tracks it down. I felt like that ball was in the air for about 15 minutes, but that was massive for that 45-yard touchdown. But just to talk a little bit more about Bo Melton, he's the guy that's bounced between different positions, done everything that's been asked of him. You never hear any drama. Just came in, just worked his butt off, and when his number was called, he got the touchdown. I mean, those are the type of players you want on your team. Selfless, and then they go out there and make that play when it's needed. Just chef's kiss. Let's talk about Josh Jacobs. 20 carries, 86 yards for a .3 average, and 1 touchdown. It's definitely not eye-popping numbers for sure, but absolutely crucial production. Obviously, I think all of you probably feel this way, but the play of the game, the 3rd and 1, a game on the line, 8 minutes left, pitch to the outside. I thought he was done. It was about 3, 4, maybe even 5 Bears, over there, and he just scoots by. A couple of them run into each other. I thought the Bears knew exactly what was going to happen, but Jacobs finds a hole, plants his foot there, and then finds some yardage there for 21 yards, and then because of that, suddenly they're inside the 10. And LaFleur said it pretty well too as well, but that was a hell of an individual effort. We missed some blocks, 3 technique got loose, and then he just sees that burst. So LaFleur absolutely loves that. Was alluding to that, very much so after the game. The run blocking wasn't elite today. It was okay. Jacobs kept getting hit near the line or towards it, but he definitely, I thought, tried to make a good job of making something out of nothing. And that's definitely what you pay your elite running backs to do. So Jaden Reed, a limited return in his role, only 25 snaps, 6 touches, 53 yards, but you definitely felt his presence today. Matt LaFleur calling some orbit motions. He loves himself some orbit motions or jet sweeps and end rounds of Jaden Reed. But the horizontal speed, that forces the defenses to cover sideline to sideline. And, that clutch, very, very clutch catch on the final touchdown drive was really, really big. They eased him back in, which is what I felt that they should have done. With his hamstring, knee issues, whatever, even in limited snaps, I think he's a difference maker. I think you can all probably agree on that. And he's only going to tick up from here. He's only going to get more involved. He just needs to stay healthy. I thought it was very interesting for how well that Dontavian Wicks played in the Detroit Lions game, but was not showcased in this game. Probably his best game, right? 2 touchdowns on Thanksgiving, and then played, I think, a total of 4, maybe 5 snaps, 6 snaps, something like that, without having the chart completely in front of me. And then nowhere to be found in the second half. LaFleur did say, though, in post-game, his ankle was really bothering him. But they did cut Malik Heath earlier on in the week to make room for Reed and Golden both returning. But it is still a little strange that Bo Melton got some more snaps. Maybe maybe the ankle issue was a lot more damning to him than what was actually reported. The Packers training staff probably were managing it pretty carefully, but better to have him limited than not available at all. That is for sure. So total drives and points, 8 drives, 28 points, obviously 4 touchdowns, 50% touchdown rate, 3 punts, 5 plays, 15 yards, 3 plays, minus 11 yards. Yes, negative 11. 3 plays, 6 yards, 11 plays, 10 yards, 3 punts. The offense is too talented for these kinds of drives. Those are the drives that definitely can get you eliminated in January. And you're not going to score every time, and I think that that's fine, but you can't go 3 and out 3 times with 10 total yards. And the execution, too, with the penalties, right? Like, that just absolutely kills you. We'll probably get more into that, a little bit later. But they delivered when it mattered. Obviously, final touchdown every single time the Bears scored, we definitely answered. 8 minutes left, 21-21, led that beautiful drive, and let's go win it, right? Jordan Love in the huddle, and that's exactly what they did. You got to love it. Jordan Love continues to shine versus the blitz. Very, very surgical. 9-12 against the blitz, 171 yards and 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and 156.3 passer rating. Woo, baby. You can't confuse that quarterback. You can't pressure him into mistakes. He sees it. He adjusts. He beats it. I mean, that, to me, and for anybody, is high, high level quarterbacking. Let's talk about the defense for a little bit. Obviously, this is a performance, I'm sure you would all agree, a tale of 2 halves. I mean, I think the defense's job was simple. Protect the ball, win on first down, make Caleb Williams uncomfortable. For one half, I thought that they definitely did that very well, for sure. But for the second half, that was definitely a different story. First half dominance, though, from them, punt, second drive, punt. Third possession for them, punt, field goal, punt. Bears had 3 points at halftime. Caleb Williams had like what, 30 passing yards, 35 yards passing yards. I think he had a quarterback rating around 45, 50. Absolutely flustered. But then the second half struggles, and where I thought the Bears started to really get some momentum. I thought that they should have done this in the first half. Not that I'm a Bears analyst, but just looking at like high level football, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, interception. The Bears definitely found their rhythm. Caleb found a little bit more confidence. And suddenly, and I'm sure you could all see it though too, Tom Brady alluded to it on the broadcast, but our defense did look gassed. Here's something that didn't get enough attention though. Love throws the pick on the first drive. Bears get the ball in plus territory. Perfect opportunity to take a lead. Defense holds them on that drive to a punt, being rational, but also being optimistic about it. Doesn't even give up a field goal. That was really big. I thought that that might at least lead to a field goal. But Green Bay never trailed in this game, not for a single second. Bears were always chasing, always having to press, and hypothetically, like if the defense doesn't hold the 3, if Chicago takes a field goal, takes a 3-0 lead or worse, scores a touchdown after that Love interception, suddenly it's 7-0. Through a pick and momentum completely shifts. So that stop was absolutely massive. Jeff Hafley was a different play caller from first half into second half. More in the first half, pressure packages. I know that this is when Hafley's at his best. Defensive backs on blitzes. Edgerrin Cooper coming off the edge. Keisean Nixon on rushes. Evan Williams flying up and making tackles towards the line of scrimmage. Stunts, twists, simulated pressures, pre-snap type of movements, post-snap disguises. That really resulted into Caleb Williams being very uncomfortable, seeing ghosts in the pocket, missing open receivers, as he tends to do, holding on to the ball for too long, and just, all sorts of out of rhythm. That is how you make a young quarterback comfortable. That is how you force him to process quickly. You don't let him drop back and get into his timing. I thought it worked pretty beautifully, and I thought that they executed the defensive strategy very, very well in that first half. Second half adjustments, though, this is where I thought Ben Johnson strikes back. Johnson went heavier to play action, more max protection looks. I thought did some design rollouts to get Caleb outside the pocket. Quick game to get the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands fast. I thought Caleb had a unique evolution during this game. First half, he was obviously missing throws, indecisive, felt like he was uncomfortable. Second half, making throws on the run, extending plays, and looking pretty dangerous. His escapability, too, was on full display, man. I'll give you guys this. If there's any Bears fans listening to this, he's absolutely a magician and wizard within the pocket. Several times we thought that we would have had him there for a sack, and he definitely got out. Even Micah Parsons, who's one of the fastest defenders out there, even being a DN, had a hard time tracking him down on a couple of those plays. The 17-play drive, I believe it was, 18-play drive, absolutely brutal to defend, and that really gassed out our defense. Constant conversions on third and short, fourth and short, that just ate up time of possession, keeping the Packers offense on the sideline. Defense was definitely exhausted. The run defense, I thought it was good enough. It wasn't elite. It wasn't bad. I thought it was good enough. 32 carries, 138 yards for a 4.3 average. DeAndre Swift, 63 yards. Kyle Monangai had some yards. No explosive runs. The longest run was 9 yards. They made Chicago earn every single yard for sure. There wasn't any 15, 20, 30-yard gashes. And some would argue, too, for that's definitely some winning defense. After what the Bears did to Philadelphia, both running backs ran for over 100 yards. That was massive improvement for sure. I thought, too, like I said, if Ben Johnson would have done that more in the first half, had that approach, I thought that the Packers might have been in for a longer type of day. Let's talk about the Micah Parsons holding saga. It has gotten pretty ridiculous. Like at this point, what is a hold? Grabbing him across the neck, pulling him down. I mean, couple of those was just plain as day. Like he's putting his hands up, like he's getting he might as well just be wrestling at this point. It's WWE on Micah Parsons. I know that Matt LaFleur talked about this too in his press conference, and I know Parsons does pretty much every week, and he says he's used to it too. But LaFleur, what does Micah Parsons have to do to get a holding penalty? This is a reporter asking LaFleur, and LaFleur says he doesn't know anymore. He doesn't know what it is. Cowboys fans warned us, get ready. They'll never call a holding on him. He just gets mugged on every single game. I don't know. I don't know what the Packers are going to have to do. League-wide mandate to get a holding call on Micah Parsons because I don't know. It's I feel like it's impacting us for a player too. And if Micah Parsons gets home, those are definitely game changers, right? So, but I mean, that's the reason you still want him is because he's obviously he's extraordinarily impactful in the game. Constant pressure, But just imagine this. Imagine if they did call it fairly. Secondary performance: Xavier McKinney, pretty solid. Had a sack opportunity on Caleb early, but couldn't bring him down. Caleb again too, just a little bit too slippery. Evan Williams, another strong performance from him too. Obviously, also had a sack opportunity. Caleb Williams, the magician, almost had that interception that was ruled incomplete. How was that ruled incomplete? That's like the one call you couldn't make. I don't know. I'm just here. The ball never hit the ground. He ended up with possession. Refs said incomplete anyways. Whatever. I'm not getting into that, but that was ridiculous in my opinion. Javon Bullard, returning from an ankle injury, didn't practice Thursday or Friday, limited snaps, did mix in there with Nate Hobbs. But he was out there, he was definitely impactful. Speaking of Nate Hobbs, it looks like he got some more nickel snaps than Bullard on a pitch count. Looked better in the slot than he did outside earlier in this year for sure. Got beat. I think he got beat once or twice on a switch release. So switch release pick play. Not really his fault, but overall I thought he did a pretty good job. Edrin Cooper, man, just continues to be elite for us. 11 tackles, flying around everywhere. Exactly what you want from your linebacker. Had some really key tackles. He's a foundational piece of this defense. Speed, instincts, tackling. He's still young, right? He's still learning and growing, but he is definitely a playmaker. Kingsley Enagbare, man, unsung hero. Third down stop before the Nixon interception for a huge tackle in the A gap, forced that fourth down, set up the whole game-ending sequence. Got credit for half the sack with Parsons, but Parsons picked the blocker, created that lane for Enagbare, and he finished. That is what you call complimentary pass rushing right there. He's quietly having a pretty nice season. Not flashy, but definitely very productive. Making plays when they matter for sure. Let's talk about my boy Keisean Nixon, who's highlighted on the thumbnail and also within our title. But sometimes in football, you have those games, right? Nothing goes right. Where every play you feel like you're kind of battling uphill. Then you get one chance to make it right. That was Keisean Nixon this last Sunday. He battled through some adversity. That first quarter was an absolute disaster. He was killing us, man. Penalty one, the illegal hands to the face. I get it. Burton was doing some stuff back too. I don't think the officiating was really well on display for this game. Not great, but also not terrible. It happens. 5-yard penalty, and you move on. But that penalty number 2, the personal foul, that was the controversial one, right? That one was a rough one too. Burton had his hands up on his face. Nixon slaps his arms away. Refs throw the flag because they saw that Nixon 15 yards, and LaFleur goes absolutely bananas on Nixon on the sideline now. They didn't bench him, but they definitely gave him a couple plays off to cool it off. But the combined damage on that, both of those 30 penalty yards on that drive, basically a free field goal for Chicago. Not how you want to start the game, and without that field goal, maybe we're not sweating as much there towards the end of the game. The touchdown that got away. Second half, Caleb is rolling right, throws to Cole Kmet in the end zone. Nixon is right there. Ball goes through his hands. Kmet catches it for a touchdown. Nixon had perfect position. Ball literally touched his hands. Should have been an interception. Would have saved the touchdown. Said the Bears. Instead, Bears score. The game is 21-14. How did Nixon not intercept that? And I think at that point too, you're probably thinking this probably isn't Nixon's night. 2 penalties, dropped interception. That became a touchdown. That's the kind of game where you become the scapegoat for sure. But certain plays that build redemption, the pass breakup on the screen later in the game, just absolutely exploding through that. The Bears running a screen. Nixon read it perfectly, breaks it up. Perfect. Pass breakup number 2. Another contested catch situation. Nixon makes a play on the ball. Incompletion. Starting to get his confidence back. And then the game-sealing interception and taking Christmas away from your Chicago Bears. The perfect redemption situation where we all need to write a I'm sorry note to Keisean Nixon. I know that I need to because I was saying explicitives to him in the first half of this game for sure. It's 21-21, the final drive. Packers just scored to take the lead 28-21. Bears are driving, doing what they're doing. The clock is ticking. 4th and 1. The The sneaky Chicago Bears are calling the same play that they did where they scored a touchdown the following week against the Philadelphia Eagles, but the Packers said no, 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 no. Definitely with part of the season on the line. Naked bootleg, weak side, tight end runs the route into the end zone. It's a money play for Ben Johnson, slightly disguised slightly differently. And at that moment, too, they must have talked to Nixon because it appeared that Nixon was at the first part of it, I'm not saying how it ended, was shadowing DJ Moore in man coverage, but Moore runs more of the shallow crosser underneath. And honestly, if Williams probably would have gotten to Moore there, too, I think it would have been a little bit more of a difficult throw. He at least got a first down. Tight end breaks to the corner. Evan Williams post-game said he was supposed to be back there. Said Nixon bailed him out for sure. Williams was up near the line. Tight end was about to break wide open. Nixon reads the play, see Williams is up, sees the tight end starting to break, makes the split decision to go and cover, abandon DJ Moore and cover the route in the end zone, and just goes up and perfectly intercepts it, which was, right in his hands. Could have Caleb Williams have made a better throw on that? 1,000%. Will we take it? Hell yes, we will. I mean, that is high level execution and football IQ. Recognizing that pattern too. They watched that more than a few times. Understanding that situation and then making the right read in real time to do that for your instincts, absolutely amazing. So you want to be a football player, right? Well, then you got to make these snap decision calls in less than a second. So it was awesome. And the right redemption for the right time to seal this game away. So, Jordan Love said it though, but those are the moments that you need your best players to go out there and make big plays to end it. And Keisean has definitely been that for us this year. I don't know if he's been absolutely elite, define elite cornerbacking in this. I think he's been very, very, very solid. He just needs to get better at the execution and penalties and calm down as far as that goes. Every play is a new opportunity. It doesn't matter what happened before. Next snap is a real chance to be the hero. I believe that's in Nixon's character. He doesn't sulk after the penalties, didn't drop his head, kept playing, kept believing, kept bouncing back, just like Jordan Love did. And that's absolutely what you want from your players and a championship level type of team. Matt LaFleur, he trusted his quarterback in this game. The weather was definitely cold outside. You thought you were going to run it a little bit more, and you would think that would be the philosophy in these conditions. Play it safe, run the ball a bit more. But nope, like we've been wanting Matt LaFleur to do, hand over the keys to Jordan Love, and he definitely did that in this game. That resulted in 25 pass attempts for 234 yards and 3 touchdowns. They didn't turtle into a conservative shell. They played to their strength, and that is definitely evolution. They showed some of that spirit on the last final drive, 21-21, 8 minutes left. Jordan Love goes to the huddle, let's go win it. They marched down, scored the touchdown, took the lead, and didn't look back. Let's talk a little bit about LaFleur's growth in this. We've criticized him too from before for being too conservative, for playing not to lose. This game, he definitely played to win, and it's been working for him. That Ben Johnson post-game handshake, chef's kiss. Very, very awkward, very short. You got to love it. I mean, LaFleur is a class act. He's been a head coach in this league for a long time, and he knows not to say dumb stuff like that because it's literally karma. It can come back and bite you in the butt. Ben Johnson, he's 0-1 against LaFleur. The Bears are 1-13 against Green Bay in their last 14 games. So, you know what I mean? Talk is cheap. Winning and results definitely matter. So, what is the reality for this Packers team? A 9-3 record, 9-3-1 record, excuse me. They are number 1 in the NFC North currently. They are second seed in the NFC standings overall, with the Rams being ahead of them. Gives them a 95% chance to make the playoffs, 69% chance to win the division, 11% chance at the 1 seed. Win 2 out of the last 4, you'll have a greater than 99% chance at the playoffs. Win 3 out of the last 4, that even gets better. Jordan Love and Caleb Williams rivalry, for hopefully a long time. They're both really good players. This is, the Rodgers the new Rodgers Stafford, type of rivalry too. So, but let's be honest, the Bears still suck. They really do. They really do. The rivalry's back. Both teams are competitive, and that's what you love to see. They're a well-coached football team. They've got talent. Caleb's the real deal. But until they actually beat the Packers, until Ben Johnson can actually enjoy beating Matt LaFleur one time, the narrative, honestly, for the Bears stays the same. The Packers own this rivalry, and tonight was just another reminder of that. But round two, it'll be coming up here in a couple weeks at Soldier Field, and I, for one, cannot wait for it. But that is all that I had for you today, Packers fans. Go freaking Pack go on this game. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed, leaves comments. It all helps the algorithm. Really, genuinely, we cannot say thank you enough to all our loyal listeners and the fans that we've created here. Almost going on here 2 years, which is pretty special. Again, know that we have new content every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Please make sure to give us a like, sub, and follow us on those platforms. I am at Sounds Gouda with 3 A's. Jordan is at Olson Jord for the socials. Let me know what your thoughts were of this game. Has this rivalry been stoked? Is the flame back? Do you think that the Bears will come back in a couple weeks and give us another really good test? Anything that you would love to put down, I'd love to engage with you guys and comment back. But that is it for now. We hope that you have a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good night. Take care. Go Pack Go.
Been wanted this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the